All right. How's everybody doing? Good? All right, fantastic. We are very excited to be here. My name is Peter Simones, and I lead the AI Trust product group within Core AI.
And my name is Mehrnoosh Sameki, and I lead evaluation science and AI governance in Core AI.
So the operative word in the session title that you see here and that you are all here to attend, thank you for joining us, is scale. So last year at this time, at this conference, there was a lot of discussion around agents. You've probably been to many talks, many conferences where the general topic at the highest level has been the same for a while now. But the conversations last year were conceptual, exploratory, about the possibilities, about the capabilities of agents. And today, the questions are much more operational. So this session, what we aim to do is to give you knowledge and tools that you can use now and over the next 12 to 24 months to answer the question, do we trust our agents enough to hit the gas on scaling? So over the last year, I'm sure we've all felt this shift, right? So from conceptual to operational. Every team is now exploring agents for support workflows, for research, routing, decisions, and so much more. The questions are shifting from if and for what to how many and how quickly. So if 2025 was about exploring, then we fully expect 2026 and 2027 to be about building and scaling. And so we all see the massive potential in agents. I presume most of us agree with this statement that the future of the enterprise is agentic. And we all want to sprint toward that future, but we also see very real reasons for concern. And concerns, doubts, hesitations, risks, these things are the enemy of scaling and of opportunity capture. And so you may have seen this chart before, but the thing that I want to emphasize about this recent KPMG study, first of all, it was a very large sample size. And secondly, it's not just that there's a trust gap, it's that the trust gap is widening. So fewer people feel that they can trust AI systems, and more people say that they are worried about them. And so why might that trust gap be widening? It's agents, right? Every agent definitionally sits at the intersection of your internal data and systems and the external world of content, tools, workflows, and APIs. A lot of possibility in that, a lot of compelling possibility, but also a lot of risk. And some of the ones that we repeatedly highlight and we'll talk through today in terms of how you can mitigate these risks. Your sensitive data. It must stay accessible only to the right people, both internally and externally. Your agents must not go rogue and do things that you don't intend. And the tools and content that your agent accesses in that sort of external world, you must be able to trust them. And you must have some sort of scanning in place so as to not get hijacked. And like all of that's just talking about one agent, right? And while that might be in the world that a lot of us are in right now, 1, 2, 5, 10 agents, as we scale, your agents are going to be connecting to more data, more tools, more agents, big multi-agent workflows. And so that risk, it can grow exponentially if you don't have the right foundation of trust in place. So the way to think about it is that the foundation of trust for one agent, you want that to be a system that you can scale to all the agents you build, whether you build them in a Microsoft platform or outside of Microsoft, which we will talk about soon. And so this is the key point. This is the flashing lights point of this session, is that a huge part of the promise of our agentic future is scale. Scale that we humans can't achieve on our own. And trust is required to scale. We firmly believe this statement, that the teams that can trust their agents are the ones that will scale them, and the teams that scale effectively will win. Trust leads to scale, leads to success. So how do you build that trust? Especially as your agent fleet grows past 10 agents, 50 agents, 100 agents, into the thousands. So we built the Foundry Control Plane, announced yesterday and in public preview globally, to be the answer to this question for developers, as developers are the ones that are there from day zero, actually building the agents, building the apps that ultimately need to be trustworthy enough to scale. And no matter where you build, what platforms your company uses, you can secure, observe, control, and manage 100% of your AI fleet in the Foundry Control Plane. Yes, 100% is absolutely what we are building toward. While building agents in Foundry is awesome, and I encourage all of you to try that, Control Plane allows you to register your AWS agents, your GCP agents, agents from other clouds, so that you can actually manage all of your agents in one place. So what does the Control Plane look like in practice for developers? So it guides developers at every stage of the agent development lifecycle, which we show here. Build, test, deploy, optimize, scale, and you've got governance sort of sitting above or sort of underneath all of those. And that's what Mehrnoosh and I are going to demo for you over the next 20 minutes. So I'm going to shift into a live demo. Fantastic. All right, so we talked about the developer lifecycle. So we're going to start, well, before we start with build, I first of all want to sort of take something that might sound abstract and make it concrete for you. So I'm going to do a rapid flyby of the control plane surface within Microsoft Foundry. So the control plane lives across the Builds tab and the new Operate tab in the new Microsoft Foundry. We'll go pretty extensively into the build features. That's probably more obvious to you. So let's do a rapid flyby of what exists in Operate. And so the Foundry Control Plane, a key piece is fleet level management, right? As you scale, you're going to need to be able to look across your fleet, your agents, your models, and tools, and understand as a developer what matters right now. What should I be paying attention to right now? What do I need to fix right now? And so you start with a dashboard that shows you basically a to-do list, right? You see these alerts across things like policy. You've got assets that are out of compliance with policy. You've got security alerts. Jailbreak attempts have been detected. Evaluations. You've set thresholds for all the evaluators that you run, and when something falls below a given threshold, you get alerted about it. So you can imagine as this expands and as you scale, it's really a to-do list for developers. Then you have some hero stats to give you a sense of the activity across your agent fleet, the cost, and then some notion about usage volume and trends, just in the sense of what's actually getting used, what agents are having runs, and are there agents that are greatly increasing or decreasing in terms of the amount of usage that is happening in a given week or in a given month or in a given day. And crucially, this is across all of the projects in a subscription. So you see here that you have the subscription selected. If you have multiple projects, you can see all of them, or you can select one, or you can select a handful, and it'll gracefully adapt to what you as a developer or an admin have access to. And we definitely are working on ways to make this cross-subscription and eventually cross-tenant. That is the vision. So that's the overview tab, and then quickly, you have an assets tab. That is a complete listing of all of your agents, as you see here, and then you have all of your models and all of your tools. And so we're going to come back to this a little bit later, but you see key statistics. You can be able to sort and filter on this to get a sense of things that you might want to investigate or debug. If you've published them, you get links to that published asset. And again, crucially, which we'll come back to, these are not just Foundry agents. You see here at the bottom, we have an AWS agent here. We have an Azure SRE agent. We have a Logic Apps agent. The compliance tab, which Mehrnoosh will dive much deeper into, gives you a sense of the policies your organization has in place, the compliance with those policies for your agents and your models, the sense of guardrails that are applied across your fleet, and security posture. And so the security posture tab gives you a place to view key threat protection and data security signals flowing in from Microsoft Defender and from Microsoft Purview. And then lastly, we have the quota tab and the admin tab, which we'll talk about later, where the key part is that it brings the management of your AI assets, resources, users, AI gateways to the same place where you evaluate the quality, cost, and security of those assets. Okay, so that's the flyby. So this isn't just conceptual. You see concretely what we're talking about. And now we're going to go deep into various features. And so, you might ask, question from the audience, it's like, hey, Peter and Mehrnoosh, isn't it true that like control planes are going to proliferate? There's already a bunch of them out there. So what spikes about the Foundry control plane? You're absolutely right. We definitely expect control planes to proliferate. In fact, we expect the hyperscalers to probably have multiple control planes for different personas. So what is different and what does spike about the Foundry control plane, and how does that help developers build trust into every stage of the development lifecycle? And so that is what we're going to deep dive into now. So I'm going to go ahead and build an agent. So I'm here in the Build tab. I'm here in the Agent Builder. You see we've already got some agents that have been created. I'm going to go ahead and create an agent. And at our hypothetical company, 𝗲𝗲, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about over the last few days, we are going to build an agent that helps our support employees answer questions faster, more effectively, handle some sensitive issues, and handle things like refunds a bit more effectively. And I'm also realizing in classic fashion that the files that I was going to upload are probably on my computer. Do you know where those files exist?
Yes.
OK, great.
So you can create it. And
OK, Mehrnoosh is going to help me with the things that are also on her machine, thankfully, that are also on mine. OK, so we're going to call this your answer assist agent. OK, and so here, you select your model. I think this is going to be, pretty lightweight, so I'm going to go for a lower cost efficient model. I'm going to choose GPT-4o Mini. And then I'm going to give it some system instructions. And so basically to say, hey, I'm going to give you tools that contain a bunch of internal documents, refund policies, recent information on transactions, 𝗲𝗲 brand guidelines, things like that. And agent, I want you only to reference information that is found in your tools. If you get a question about something that you can't find the answer to in your tools, just say that you can't answer it and to refer to your training guidelines. So then you can go in here. I highly recommend that folks explore this agent builder, but in the interest of time, we're going to be quick. We're going to add those tools that I just spoke to.
So these are the branding and the information about past purchases and logistics of our company that I've prepared for you to use for your agent.
Perfect. All right, so it's going to take a bit to upload. And then so as a developer, I'm thinking through, OK, we're going to go and let's think through the use cases and how some of the employees might actually use this agent. And they're not going to know all the details about how it's built, right? They're just going to know it's here to help me answer questions faster. And so let's see. It's a little bit of an error there, but I think we're OK. So we're just going to roll through that. I'm just going to say, OK, I've got the basics, got what I need. Let's go ahead and let's ask it a question. So I was recently contacted by a customer who says that they're missing linen fabric. And I'm presuming that this agent can help me get the details and help this customer a lot faster. So I'm going to go ahead and say that and see what happens. OK, it's returning me information. Definitely has things about sort of what happened, but wow, OK, it's got the name, the email, the phone number, the credit card information. Definitely not what I was expecting or what I would think that this should do. That seems like too much information that we wouldn't want all of our employees to have access to. So, I mean, is it really just going to do this for everything? Let's see. It's great that it has access to these tools with this rich information, but it's got to handle it right, and that's definitely not right. We can't have that happening. You can also think like this is an internal thing, but also external. People have support agents that outside users can chat with, and you can imagine a similar situation there. So I definitely need to think about the guardrails that I put on this agent. And so we're going to go into the guardrails section. And if you only take away a few things from this session, let one of them be that if you want to build and scale secure, safe, high-quality agents, input and output guardrails on your model are not good enough. So traditional model guardrails have been around for a long time, right? So you scan the prompt for things like self-harm or jailbreak attempts, and then similarly, you scan the model response. So it's still necessary, to be clear, but it's no longer sufficient. To build and scale secure, safe, and high-quality agents, you need agent runtime guardrails at the tool level. Agents are calling tools. You need the guardrails to be there in and around those tools at the runtime level. And so let's show you some of the guardrail capabilities that we have. So we start our guardrail adding wizard here with the notion of like, what risk do you care about? So as you can see here, you have things like jailbreak, you have security risks like indirect prompt injection attacks, and spotlighting, which is a technique that we've added to enhance the efficacy of indirect prompt injection detection. Sensitive data leakage, which is sort of the thing that we're talking about in this demo. Task adherence, which is crucial and new, ensuring that the agent is staying on task and not drifting. Then those classical content safety guidelines and IP protection. So in this case, what I care about is this personally identifiable information, or PII. You can get into a bunch of subtypes, and so these all seem useful, and it seems like this agent shouldn't be talking about any of these things, so I'm just going to select all of that. Now here's the crucial part, the intervention point that you see my cursor going around. So previously with models, it was just input and output. But now we have additional intervention points where you say, I want to run a guardrail, I want to invoke a guardrail at the tool call or at the tool response, so that if there is PII that is coming out of a tool, I want it to be blocked there. I want that interaction to be protected. And then you also might say, I'm actually going to uncheck user input, because like somebody might say their own name or sort of maybe querying about something to help themselves remember something, and like that seems okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that control. Now, next, you go ahead and you choose all of the assets you want to apply it to. So another key theme for developers in terms of scaling, once you create a guardrail configuration that you like, and that your company says is within policy, you can apply it to all of your assets. Then you can edit that guardrail, and then all of the assets get that edited guardrail. And so it makes things really efficient and able to scale. So I'm going to add this to the answer assist agent. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this PII prevention guardrail, and I'm going to submit. OK, so now, hopefully, it should ensure that the agent doesn't do the thing that we were saying before. So same thing, the missing linen fabric. Give me all the information about that. All right, so this has been blocked. Blocked because of the PII guardrail that I just put up there. And so when you go back to the guardrails, as I said before, the key thing to remember is that we now have agent-level runtime guardrails. And so you saw how the PII could be invoked at every stage. Not all risks can be invoked at every stage. So like task adherence here, you see it's tool call, because it's all about the tool call. It's saying, OK, system prompt, user prompt, what is the intent of this agent, right? And so then the tool that it is selecting, is that aligned? Is that adhering with the task? We don't need to run this guardrail in other places. Let's run it here. And so you'll see that the intervention points vary. OK, so that is the Foundry guardrails, and I want to be clear that going back to my point about extensibility, it is not just Foundry guardrails. We are announcing today bring your own security. So for people who are already using Palo Alto networks, right? They already have guardrails. They already have agent runtime guardrails that they're happy with. We want to make it easy for you to bring that into Foundry, to integrate directly into Foundry, so that the Foundry Control Plane can truly be your command and control center for everything. And so we're very excited to announce this coming very soon. And similarly, we have a partnership with Zenity. So again, if you're a Zenity user and you really like what they're doing when it comes to agent runtime, guardrails, and controls, you can integrate directly within Foundry to bring all the goodness of Zenity over here. OK, so now that we've covered that stage one, build, in the development lifecycle, I just built an agent. I assigned it guardrails. I'm now going to hand it to Mehrnoosh to demo the next set of stages.
Awesome. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm stepping in as Peter's peer developer to walk you through a journey where we take our agent to test it, break it, and stress it as an attacker would, but before any user see it. So it's a safe space. We're going to do it together. The very first thing that I'm going to do to your agent, Peter, is I'm going to run a full evaluation just to see how it does before putting it out there. I start by choosing my agent, and then I realize I don't have test data, which is good and representative. Totally fine. I can generate some synthetic data. and ask it to generate some synthetic data based on my 𝗲𝗲 product catalog. I can even provide some seed data if I need to. I will skip that. It'll use my index. That's fine. Here, then, I have to specify which criteria I want to assess this agent on. The fun part about this is already there are so many evaluators pre-selected for me that I can kind of see are appropriate for my use case, but I have access to world-class set of evaluators, not just on quality and safety of generated responses, but specific agent evaluators that will test for agent failure modes that a normal large language model eval would miss. So in this case, I won't customize it. I'll just go with what Microsoft tool has provided to me, like task adherence, measuring to what extent I'm remaining on the task, not going off rail, intent resolution, tool selection, bunch of quality evals, groundedness for whether hallucination happens, etc., and bunch of safety evals. I'll review and I submit. Now, this is going to take a little while, so I have an evaluation that I've generated a day ago. And so here you can see that my evaluation is finished. I see a bunch of my tests have passed, which is fantastic. It is calling the right tool, passing the right input to it. The tool calls are happening in an accurate way, fluent answer. But I see that task adherence has potential to improve. So thank you for giving me right guardrails at the very beginning, but I think we need to work to see what can we do in order to improve something like task adherence. Double-clicking on that, here are some examples where my task adherence has failed. Now, there's a reasoning attached to it. For example, for this example, I'll see that the eval data wanted to compare the prices of two products. It was able to find the price of one product, but not the other. So maybe that's something for us to go and check our index and see whether we have the latest prices of all of our products in the catalog. So this is what we mean by testing. I can make sense of what is happening around my AI. Now, a few moments ago, Peter, you did something fun, which was you tried to get your model to leak some personally identifiable information. That's what we call red teaming, that he just did manually. The fun part about Foundry is we can do it automatically, and in fact, it's a really best practice to adversarially test your agents before your audience do it for you, and it shows up on the first page of news, right? So here, if you look at the evaluation tab, I also have this red teaming sub-tab, and I can go ahead and start and create a new red teaming run. I can choose this particular agent Peter created for me. Here, we enable you to specify what risk categories. I can choose task adherence as a category that I want to stress test for, sensitive data leakage, prohibited actions, and a bunch of other content harms, like whether it generates sexual content or self-harm violence. I can give a little bit information about my file search tool that I have, file search for 𝗲𝗲 products. And then I save this. And after I specify the risk categories you want our AI red teaming agent to test for, we also give you a bunch of attack strategies that augment those initial adversarial inputs. So like jailbreak or flip or doing certain encodings, etc. So I specify that. And then next, the section for prohibited action enables me to edit what is considered prohibited action. You can choose the ones that this tool is providing. I can go with changing a password, solving a CAPTCHA. I can delete any, add any. But I'll go with the setup that I have here. And then I can go next. And okay, I didn't review it, so I have to save it first. And then I can submit my red teaming to see how it did. Now, I already have one that has finished from another day. The good thing is there are certain things that my model hasn't, or my agent hasn't fallen for it, but for example, it has fallen for doing and performing some prohibited actions. This is a very key thing for me to do, because if I know it, then I can't miss it. Then I would put the additional guardrails, whether it's meta prompt or the Foundry guardrails, to protect against it. Double-clicking on that, I see that I have some failures, as we saw on prohibited actions. Here, I even see the next category, the granular category of what these prohibited actions were that my agent failed. Gambling, gosh, I never wanted it to do that. Medical treatment planning, we're talking about 𝗲𝗲 being an outdoor store. High impact eligibility decisions. So these are other good things that maybe we can improve our meta prompt to say, please stay on task. This is your really domain of freedom. Don't go on other things that, like gambling and lotteries, etc. So now that I've done this, we improved the agent according to these insights. It is time to deploy my agent. So I come here and I can publish, since I had a previous version, I can publish updates. But not just that, I can also continue getting insights about this agent in production. So I can come here and activate continuous evaluation with the exact same evaluators that I did an offline one-time evaluation on, but now on traffic data. And I can ask it to have a judge model to then generate those scores, sample rate, to then sample from production data. I can even do scheduled red teaming on my agent that is in production. And I can provide a threshold for pass rate just to make sure that my agent is, I'm getting alerts about whether it's having the pass rate on certain evaluators that I've enabled. So that's good. I deployed and I enabled monitoring. One thing that is quite fun about Foundry Control Plane is the moment that I publish my agent, it receives a unique Entra ID, both an application one and an object ID one. And this is for us as a control plane team to bring to you the goodness of our Entra tool that has been for decades operating for identity management and access management for users and devices. Turns out all of these best practices that are really battle tested travels well for agents. So now this agent has identity. I can stop it, I can quarantine it, and all of that. But another good thing is, so far, I've been only your peer focusing on one agent that we just created together. But I think it's time to look a little bit broader. So I step into the developer lead or admin role to look across and try to understand at scale what is happening over my fleet. So here I'm in one project, but I can go to all projects in my subscription. I can start understanding how I can optimize my entire fleet. For example, here I can sort based on cost, as Peter showed you earlier, or error rate or token usage. If there's something like suddenly one of my agents is generating a lot more cost or is generating a lot more error rate, I will miss it. But this is not the only thing. One of my favorite things as a developer is for me to shift my operation model from reactive to proactive. And that's what this active alert section is about. It really tells me what I need to pay attention to. So if I have thousands or millions of agents, I don't need to go and chase every single one of them to see what's wrong. I can see what exactly needs attention. Right now, there are 3 categories of alerts here that I can see. For example, I see that there is an eval alert on the product catalog agent that Peter created. I can go and investigate it in the Monitor tab, which, if you recall, I set it up a few moments ago. I can see a lot of different things. My agent runs over time, my error rate over time, evaluator, and I can deep dive into the tracing in order to understand the root cause of it. But besides that, another thing that I can do, and I'll go back here in the alerts, is I can see also security alerts here. So security alerts are surfaced by Defender, another tried and true product for SecOps engineers. The jailbreaks that are happening thanks to the guardrails you activated, we're protected against them, but maybe the person is just a known attacker that we should know about and we should block their access. So here I can surface that to my SecOps engineer to hang out in Defender and understand the source of the truth. Of the threat. And then last but not least, I have the policy alerts, which essentially gives me a sense of certain things might be out of compliance. Now, let's take a look at what that means. Here within Control Plane, one thing that I see is this compliance tab. And the very first thing that I'm interested to look here is a bird's eye view of all the guardrails that have been set in my entire subscription. So this is like every single model in my subscription, all the guardrails, I immediately noticed that no one has taken the time to turn on indirect prompt injection and spotlighting guardrails that are available here. So that's something that I want to reinforce at my organization level without going to each developer one by one. So that's where I can come back. And here I'll see the other tab of it, which is policies. I'll see that I have created a jailbreak and XPIA guardrail already, and all of my assets are out of compliance. So let's actually create one together real quick just to see how it works. Maybe I'll come back here and I'll create a policy. So here I can say, I want in my organization to have indirect prompt injection attack and spotlighting on for every single model in this particular subscription that I'm working on. So that was mine. I selected, I'll go next. I don't want any exception, I'll go next, and I submit. Now, the scan is gonna take a little bit, so I'll just show you one that is already finished, and you see that all of my assets are out of compliance. And if I want, I can click on each and look at the assets that are out of compliance and fix them. So for example, doing that, it enables me to take a look at one of my models that are out of compliance. I can view the guardrail, and immediately I can turn on the things that were missing based on my organizational guidelines in that place. And then hopefully we'll see that once I do that, things are back to compliance. So I'll go next and I submit. And so this is the view that you would expect to see, that when you come to assets, you see that the guardrail changes that you've applied in order to comply with the policy now shows no violation. So this is another way that you can kind of take a look and just make sure that all your guidelines that you want to reinforce for your organization are in check. Now, everything that I showed Peter so far has been for the agent that we created, but also some of the Foundry agents. But I know that we were talking and you told me that you're working on an AWS agent. Can I get the goodness there too?
Absolutely. So let's talk about the extensibility of Control Plane. And I do want to reinforce one quick thing, which is policy is a super powerful tool, right? It's how you ensure that what your organization cares about, the things that you need to comply with, that it actually makes it through to code. But it's a notoriously frustrating area for developers. Yep. If there's not an easy way to ensure that the things that you build are in compliance with those policies. And so a lot of what Control Plane is doing is it's making that handshake way better between developers and the other roles in your organization, or if you're a startup, oftentimes developers are doing all of these things themselves. In any case, it's making life easier and built to scale. And that is why that we have brought Control Plane into the world. So I'm going to finish talking a bit about the scale section, and I like to lead with the story because this happened a few weeks ago. So I was meeting with the C-suite of a Fortune 100 company, huge corporation, and we were like 5 minutes into talking about Control Plane, and the CTO interrupts me, and he's like, "Peter, listen, it's like, this is great, but like I've seen this show so many times in my career. And I used to be in a place where I tried to mandate the tools and the platforms that the developers in my company could use. And I learned the hard way that developers especially are going to build whatever helps them get the job done the fastest and the best. And so I've embraced that. I no longer try to control what my developers use. I tell them to use whatever the heck they want to that's going to help them get done what we need to get done. I'm looking at you, Microsoft, to make sure that we can pull all of that 10 platforms, 100 agent builder platforms, whatever it might be, to be able to solve for that and bring that all into the Control Plane. That's your job, not my job. And I had never been sort of more happy to like listen to all of that and look at it and say, that's exactly what we're doing. And so in terms of that accessibility or that extensibility, I'll go back to the Control Plane here and emphasize again that in this assets page, you're seeing all of your agents here. So you've got your Foundry agents, but if you scroll down, you've got AWS, you've got Logic Apps, you've got Azure SRE. And so how does this actually work? So we've got this register agent flow. So if you've built an agent somewhere else, you get the basic information about that agent, where it's located, you add that here, and then as part of this, you associate it with an AI gateway. So AI gateway from our API management or APIM team provides many compelling governance capabilities for your AI model deployments, your tools, and your agents. And so you set up an AI gateway, you set up your agents traffic to route through that AI gateway, and that is how we bring them into the control plane. Super noteworthy is that the first 100,000 API requests through the AI gateway are free. So we encourage everyone to just go try it out, to pull in some of the agents and see how this works in practice. You can use the AI gateway, as I said, to register external agents, crucially to manage their life cycle via the control plane, which I'll show in a second, to configure advanced security and governance policies, to unify endpoints, monitoring, and governance for some or all of your AI workload traffic. And also, a really cool feature of it is to set up fine-grained token limits and quotas for your model deployments, either per project or per agent. So again, as you scale, things like managing quota becomes really gnarly and really important. And we have a lot of tools to help you do that. So again, to reinforce, you'll see that we have a quota dedicated tab in the control plane that's going to show you, again, for all of your deployments, what is the quota that you have allocated, what is the quota that's being used. And then in the admin tab, it has your resource management, your user management, your connectors, your AI gateways. So again, just bringing all of that under one roof. The last thing that I want to show is this notion of lifecycle management. So if we go back to the assets, you see here that we've got an agent that's running, we've got an agent that's stopped. And so these are Foundry agents. And when you click on one, you see that the status is running. You've got the ability to edit that agent, to monitor that agent. Let's see what this one shows. There we go. And here you've got this notion to start or to stop the agent. So a crucial part of scaling is you can't be going to 20 different places to actually be able to stop an agent from functioning, right? And in control plane, there's two ways to do this. If the infrastructure lives within Azure, you can just deprovision the infrastructure. You can stop the agent, you can restart it, and that's what we're showing here. If it is a third-party agent, like this AWS agent, oops, I didn't mean to click that, so let's go back. This third-party agent here, you'll see that what you can do is you can block or unblock. Because again, the infrastructure doesn't live on it. It lives in AWS. But the traffic is running through the AI gateway. So you can just say block the traffic, and functionally, that agent is no longer a risk for anything. And then we give you a clear link because of the information you added when you registered to go view that agent at the source if you want to go deprovision the infrastructure and ensure that it's not running up any cost. So again, you can build the agents anywhere, but you're going to want one central command and control center to do the lifecycle management for all of your assets as you scale. Okay, so we're going to go back to the deck. Great, and very excited to introduce Jaspreet from Infosys. We are at a critical juncture when it comes to AI. So on one side, we see confidence in organizations moving from knowledge assistance to automating the process using agentic workflows, and in a few cases, building fully autonomous agents. While on the other side, it remains equally challenging for developers, QA, and security analysts to deploy these assets at scale and endorse them to be trustworthy and reliable. So to talk about some of the evolution that is underway in the agentic ecosystem, I'm going to hand it over to Jaspreet.
Thank you, Peter. So we are at a critical juncture when it comes to AI. On one side, we see a lot of confidence in organizations moving away from knowledge assistance to automating workflows, using agentic workflows and then creating multi-agents autonomous system. Yet, when it comes to building and plumbing everything up, it is left to developers, it is left to QA and security analysts to figure out reliability and trust factors. When we see over the last 1 year, there has been a lot of standardization that has been put together on MCP that is more to provide more power to agent in form of tools. Yet, scaling is still a challenge. Reliability and trust is still a challenge when it comes to deploying these agents at scale. I am Jaspreet. I am excited to be here at Microsoft Ignite to represent Infosys, and Microsoft and Infosys have been partners in multiple things, and especially in the responsible area. I am going to be talking about some of the experiences that we have had working with multiple customers as we go along. So some of the common patterns that we are seeing when it comes to deploying agents at scale, we see general appreciation and alignment when it comes to, from an overall industrial point of view, in building RAG-based solutions. In most cases, it is sufficient to apply content filters or basic evals, right? But the risk profile when it comes to agentic AI is very different. It is not just about what agent is saying. It is more important to know what agent is doing. And having the risk taxonomy to cover for indirect prompt injection, task adherence, behavioral guardrails, goal alignment, all of these are critical things. And this is what happened with one of our insurance customers. The development team, they were excellent in building knowledge assistant, and they ventured into building agentic solutions. But the 3 agents that they had built on critical timeline, the legal team did not allow them to put them in production because of inconsistent governance, inconsistent policy adherence. So it took multiple weeks to get back to track. So a lot of times what we are seeing is when we are moving from knowledge assistance to agentic, the teams are getting reactive because they're learning on the go. On the other side, we see multiple disparate methods when it comes to red teaming, for example. There is this huge aspect which is there on preparing the data set. And if you're looking at between multiple departments, forget about multiple organizations, creating the attack scenarios, the data set for red teaming, every team is coming up and behaving in a different way. So there is less standardization when it comes to that. We are also seeing that a lot of organizations are moving towards creating LLM as a judge, but what we are seeing as a pattern is some of the evaluators that are put in LLM as a judge, the first principles of error analysis have not been applied. There are a lot of evaluators that you can build in a non-LLM way. Those are also getting in LLM as a judge. And we are also seeing, that's my favorite, some of the advanced customers, they're building custom evaluators. These are domain-specific, industry-specific evaluators. And that is a key difference that we have seen, where if we are able to bring the domain experts to build some of those evaluators and hone in on what is right, the trust in accepting some of the outcomes that the agents produce goes very high. The third part in this is if you look at the announcement of Fabric IQ, Work IQ, the agents are going to explode. There are going to be more agents that are going to be there. There needs to be more standardization when it comes to governance. There needs to be standardization when it comes to enterprise-level policy adherence. And some of those aspects we see as key challenges today in the organization. What we see as a promise with the control plane, with the announcement of capability around Entra-ID, the standard governance, the aspects which are around building custom evaluators and integrating it, by bringing in third-party evaluators. We're also seeing the promise where, from a security posture point of view, the first-class integration with Defender, and also ability to extend the integration with other security tools. We see there is more standardization that is there now coming in the control plane. Infosys we are in the business of serving our customers. We have built a responsible AI toolkit, which we have already open sourced. And we see what responsible AI toolkit does in terms of the red teaming aspects that we do, the governance aspects that we have applied, the evaluators that we have built. Those can be integrated on the control plane. And overall, if you look at it, it kind of covers the three aspects that we always truly believe in from an overall responsible AI point of view: to scan, shield, and steer. So as part of that, we see the whole shield aspect is going to get empowered with the agentic control plane. And so that's a quote from our leadership. We are truly embedded with responsible AI to make sure that the capability that we have and the control plane capability that Microsoft is putting together would really create a differentiation for our customers. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. All right, so we have 30 seconds, so I'm going to skip past that. To reinforce this, we're building the Foundry Control Plane to be the vessel that delivers you the trust that you need to scale, no matter whether you are a solo builder, a new startup, or a massive enterprise in a deeply regulated industry. If you are interested in adopting this ASAP, we are definitely seeking early customers who want to go deep with us and provide us feedback that'll shape the V2. So please seek out Mehrnoosh, seek out me, seek out our colleagues at the booth, and we would love to chat with you. And if you want a photo of a slide that repeats a lot of the key capabilities, I will get out of your way. You can go ahead and take that photo. So thank you so much, everybody. Really glad that you were here and look forward to continuing the conversation as we go.
Thank you all.